Hello and welcome to the making of Monster Skull. This is Monster Skull and I'm Brian Adams. Let's take a look. So this is where he pretty much started. I do a lot of sketches and concept art for my artwork, and I drew this down and I really liked it. It was in the style of Frankenstein, and but I wanted to stay away from the Boris Karloff look. I took a piece of paper and kind of sketched out what I thought would be Monster Skull. This was just the 8.5 inch by 11 piece of paper. I knew I wanted to make Monster Skull big, but I didn't know how big, so I just kind of thought this would be a good starting. Teriyaki sticks were added on that I had shaped and put into water to bow them. Then I put just regular teriyaki sticks from side to side, as you see. And then this is another view. I started building up the forehead and the nose to give the idea of what I want it to look like. Here's the back side. You can see what it looked like. This was basically just teriyaki sticks glued onto the paper at this point. And you can see that what I did is I put some fiberglass on it and back side again. Then what I did is I put my my epoxy on it, and once I got it kind of in the shape that I want it, I thought at that time, you can see that what it looks like. And now here we've cut down dramatically skull because I wanted to have it very very organic shape, so I started cutting it down, leaving the teriyaki sticks and everything to get its strength. And here's the front of it at that point. A very long upper palate of the outside of the skull. And here is where I started making the upper palate for the inside of the. Here is the inside where it's being fastened to the skull. And then I also made a matching palette that would go for the lower half of the mouth, not thinking at the time that a lower palette was not necessary for what I was making. Here we built out the sides of the upper palette going up to the eyes, and you can see the eye sockets were put in. This is just paper at this point. Here is the front of him and a side view to show you where we're at with him. This is me at the time cutting the lower part of the jaw. Shows with the epoxy build up more on the face to get the dimension that I wanted and the depth that I wanted. You can see how he's kind of coming along. And this is the back side where the inside of the eye sockets were fiberglass and they were resined. This was to get the shaping of the metal that was going to be attached to the front of the skull, and you can see it was applied there. Holes were drilled into the existing skull, and the piece of metal was applied. Then later epoxy, as you can see there on the lower bottom parts, were added for strength. Then another piece of metal was cut for the upper part, and teriyaki sticks were put in to give the proper spacing from side to side, and trying to keep everything lined up because everything has to be lined up and equal. But in this case, this was Monster Skull, so he didn't have to be perfect. Later, here's more paper and fiberglass that was added to it with an epoxy, the first layer put out. And also the bottom of the base of the skull was added to the back part of it. You can see here in this picture with it upside down. Monster Skull was designed to look a little funny, a little off, to give him more character. He didn't have to be precise. That's what I was going for when I started making him. One of the things that I worked several times with was the eyes. This is the wooden dowels that I first put in him and where I wanted to put the eyes at. to get the idea of the how they were going to fit into the head. These were the Monster Skull's eyes originally being painted. These are his eyes when they were first put into the eye socket, trying to get the idea of what they were going to look like before we went any further. This is the wooden dowel that I was going to, or did use, for Monster Skull. This was going to be the head stick. Here you can see this is the contraption that actually would build up. Not only was this going to hold the head stick, and the head stick had to fit into it, it also had to be made so that it had to be strong. So it was basically paper wrapped around the head stick, then it was fiberglass, then it had teriyaki sticks put around it. You can see there was a ring put around it to give it added strength, because I knew that he was going to get heavy. That was not the plan for this. The end case, he ended up being about 7 pounds. There's the outside of the head stick holder, now being fiberglassed to the base of the skull, and you can see it being held in place while it was fiberglass and metal was being added to it. The reason I used metal on him is because I knew he was getting heavy, and I had to make him strong. So as you can see, a lot of teriyaki sticks were added. Fiberglass resin was put around to give him added strength. Also, if you look up towards the front here in the eyes, these were brass screws that were put in to hold the eye sockets. You can see the screws going out to the bass wood, and this is the little connection here for eye rod to be able to move the eyes back and forth. This one shows you the base of the skull, and you can see how it works to the head stick there. This is the front view looking at it. This is the bottom part. I'm filling it in with paper and filling the sides and connecting everything. You can see the epoxy has been applied all the way around the head. This is the actual lower jaw here in this picture. This is going to be what is going to be the lower jaw. This is how it started. I knew there was going to be a lot of weight on it because of the weight everything else was at the time. Here I'm building it up with fiberglass resin. Here the epoxy has been applied to the outside to start giving the shape to the lower part of the jaw. Side view of it. This is the next level that I started building, and it took forever to add on any more to it. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to leave comments and subscribe. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook.